Book 1, The Blazing Ronin, Wandering Blades. Chapter 8, Smoke and Shadows. Akira led his allies through the winding corridors of Lord Ito's palace, his emerald katana held at the ready. The group moved swiftly but cautiously, alert for any signs of the shogun's elite guards or other potential threats. So far, their infiltration had been relatively unimpeded following the brutal slaughter in the entrance hall. But the Ronin could sense the atmosphere growing heavier, more oppressive with each step deeper into the palace's shadowed depths. A miasma seemed to cling to the very air, the unmistakable taint of corruption and ancient, unspeakable evil. Akira's grip tightened fractionally around his sword's hilt, the pulsing markings covering his body flaring briefly in response to the dark energies surrounding them. "Something's not right," Hana murmured from beside him, her lightly accented voice barely audible. "I can feel it too, a presence watching us, weighing our every move." The lithe Konoichi's eyes narrowed as she scanned their surroundings warily, her kama scythes held at the ready. Despite her usual unflappable confidence, Akira could sense the undercurrent of trepidation thrumming through the assassin. "Ito is toying with us," Kozue rumbled in agreement, the towering Ravager bringing up the rear. "Allowing us to advance unchallenged for his own twisted amusement, no doubt." The crimson-armored warrior's eyes seemed to glow from within the depths of his fearsome mask as he leveled his intense gaze at Akira. "We should proceed cautiously, Blazing Ronin. I fear there are darker forces at work here than even I anticipated." The young warrior gave a terse nod of acknowledgement, his emerald gaze sweeping their surroundings warily. He could feel it too, the unseen eyes watching, weighing, judging their every move. As if some ancient, primordial intelligence had taken notice of their intrusion and found them, wanting. Akira's brow furrowed slightly as the group rounded another corner, revealing a heavy wooden door at the end of the corridor. A strange, acrid scent seemed to emanate from the other side, sharp enough to make his eyes water slightly. "What is that smell?" Kaya asked, wrinkling her nose in distaste. "It's like burning hemp, but far more pungent." The Ronin frowned, studying the door appraisingly for any signs of a trap or ambush. After a moment, he gave a slight shake of his head and began advancing once more. "Remain on guard," he stated lowly, his deep voice tinged with wariness. "But I sense no immediate threat beyond that door. Just something unusual." Hana and Kozue exchanged a look, seeming to pick up on the undercurrent of uncertainty in their leader's tone. But they said nothing, falling into step behind Akira as he approached the door with his katana leading the way. The young warrior could feel the strange, cloying scent growing stronger with every step. It filled his nostrils, making his eyes water and head swim with an odd, unfamiliar lightheadedness. Clearly, this was no ordinary burning herb or incense. Steeling himself, Akira gripped the door's handle and pulled it open in one smooth motion, his emerald blade angled before him as he swept into the chamber beyond. What awaited them on the other side, however, was not at all what he had expected. The room appeared to be some kind of opulent sitting chamber or parlor, judging by the plush cushions and low tables arrayed around a central fire pit. More importantly, it was occupied by a lone figure lounging beside the flames, utterly at ease despite the intrusion. He was an older man, his graying hair pulled back in a simple top knot as he calmly puffed away on an ornately carved kisira pipe. A hazy cloud of pale smoke surrounded him, swirling and eddying through the dimly lit chamber. As Akira and his allies entered with weapons at the ready, the man barely spared them a glance. He simply continued puffing contentedly, studying the glowing embers of the fire pit with an inscrutable expression. "You'll have to forgive the smell," he stated at last, his deep voice tinged with wry amusement as he finally looked up to regard them. "I find the aromas of the kusa to be invigorating. Sharpening the senses and opening the mind to possibilities beyond this realm." The man gestured languidly with his pipe, eyeing each of them appraisingly for a moment. "Though I must admit, I was not expecting company this evening. Especially not of such esteemed caliber as the Blazing Ronin himself." Akira tensed at the stranger's words, his emerald gaze narrowing as he studied the eccentric figure more closely. There was something off about this man, an undercurrent of power and ancient wisdom lying just beneath his unassuming exterior. "You know who I am," the Ronin stated, his deep voice laced with quiet intensity. "Yet you make no move to summon Ito's guards or oppose our infiltration. Why?" The older man chuckled lowly, taking a long pull from his pipe before exhaling a thick plume of pale smoke. His eyes seemed to shine with dark amusement as they roved over Akira and his companions. "Because you mistake me for one of that arrogant shogun's lapdogs, young Ronin," he rumbled at last. "When in fact, I am far more enlightened than Ito could ever hope to be." With a slight wave of his hand, the stranger conjured a swirling vortex of pale smoke that rapidly coalesced into a series of archaic symbols hanging in the air before them. Akira's eyes widened as he recognized the pulsing emerald patterns. They were the same as the markings covering his own body. "I am Toshiro Nakamura," the man intoned, his deep voice taking on a strange reverberating quality that seemed to resonate in their very souls. "A humble merchant, to be sure, but one who traffics in more than just worldly goods and pleasures." Nakamura leveled his piercing gaze at Akira, his next words carrying incredible weight. "I am a keeper of ancient knowledge, young Ronin. One of the few still walking this earth who can perceive the unseen forces swirling around us all. The same primordial powers you have unwittingly bound yourself to in your quest for truth and redemption." A heavy silence fell over the chamber as the old merchant's words hung in the air. Akira could feel his allies tense around him, their hands tightening around their respective weapons as they studied Nakamura warily. Finally, the Ronin found his voice once more, his deep baritone laced with a mixture of intensity and trepidation. "You speak of the old ones, the ancient evils that I have sworn to combat and purge from these lands. What do you know of them, merchant? And what is your stake in all of this?" Nakamura regarded him for a long moment, seeming to weigh and measure the young warrior. Then, he extended his pipe in a gesture of parley, his expression becoming grave. "I know that Ito's transgressions can no longer be tolerated, Blazing Ronin. The forces he has allied himself with in his mad quest for power and domination are far beyond anything he could hope to control." The old merchant's eyes seemed to glow from within as his voice took on that strange, reverberating quality once more. "The defiler stirs from its ancient slumber, its insatiable hunger for destruction growing stronger with every passing day. If Ito succeeds in unleashing its full power onto this world." Nakamura slowly shook his head, his expression one of grim certainty. "Then all of creation as we know it will be utterly consumed. Reduced to smoldering ashes amidst the emerald flames of oblivion." Akira felt his breath catch in his throat at the sheer weight and intensity of the merchant's words. He opened his mouth to respond when Hana suddenly stepped forward, her eyes narrowed behind her mask. "You speak of incredible dangers, old man," the kunoichi stated, her lightly accented voice laced with a mixture of trepidation and challenge. "And yet you make no move to oppose us or raise the alarm of our presence here. Why?" Nakamura regarded the lithe assassin for a moment before giving a dry chuckle and taking another long pull from his pipe. "Because you are the only ones who can stop the defiler's return, little viper," he rumbled at last. "The Blazing Ronin is the key to it all, a force of order and redemption powerful enough to combat the ancient evils stirring once more." The old merchant's eyes seemed to glow from within as he leveled his piercing stare at Akira. "But even he cannot accomplish such an impossible task alone. He will need allies, powerful ones who can help him navigate the paths of shadow and smoke that lie ahead." Nakamura extended his hand, offering the ornate Kisiru pipe towards the Ronin with an inscrutable expression. "So I offer myself as one such ally, Blazing Ronin. My knowledge, my resources, my very life is yours to command in this quest to save all of creation from the fires of oblivion." Akira studied the eccentric merchant for a long moment, feeling the weight of destiny pressing down on his shoulders. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, he gave a slow nod and reached out to accept the proffered pipe. As his fingers closed around the carved Kisiru, the Ronin felt a strange energy seem to ripple outwards. The pulsing emerald markings covering his body flared briefly, reacting to Nakamura's presence in a way he could not begin to comprehend. "Very well, merchant," Akira stated, his deep voice resonating with quiet intensity. "If what you claim is true, then we are going to need all the allies and ancient knowledge we can muster." The young warrior's emerald gaze burned with the intensity of a sun-going supernova as he leveled it at Nakamura. "For we are about to face the fires of oblivion itself. And I fear my own power and abilities may prove insufficient against such an ancient, insatiable force of destruction." Nakamura held Akira's stare for a long moment before giving a solemn nod of acknowledgement. Then, with a slight wave of his hand, the old merchant conjured a swirling vortex of pale smoke once more. This time, however, the hazy tendrils rapidly took on a series of new forms, a detailed map of Ito's palace and the surrounding region, along with what appeared to be a series of archaic symbols and sigils. "Then allow me to be your guide through the paths of shadow and smoke, young Ronin," Nakamura intoned, his deep voice resonating with ancient power. "For the road ahead will be fraught with more peril than you can possibly fathom." As the old merchant began relaying his insights, Akira felt a strange sense of calm and focus wash over him. For the first time since embarking on this quest, he felt as if the path forward was becoming clear, though the challenges awaiting them would likely test his convictions and abilities to their utmost limits. The Ronin's emerald gaze slid to each of his companions in turn, taking in their expressions of grim determination. Kaya, Kozue, Hana, they had all pledged their blades to his cause, to walk the path of the blazing Ronin no matter how treacherous or uncertain it became. And with Toshiro Nakamura's aid, Akira vowed to lead them through the coming fires of oblivion itself. No matter what primordial evils or ancient forces of destruction they were forced to confront, he would not falter until balance had been restored to these lands once more. For he was more than just a warrior or a symbol now. Akira was the embodiment of order, discipline, and redemption in an increasingly chaotic world. He was the blazing Ronin. And his legend was only just beginning.